We don't just use it to exchange things. We quietly judge with it. We decide who is responsible, who is careless, who is respectable, and who has failed, all by looking at a number. Notice how quickly morality enters the picture. Wanting money can feel greedy. Having a lot of it can feel suspicious. Having too little of it can feel shameful. And yet, money itself has done absolutely nothing. It has made no moral decisions at all. This is the curious part. We have taken a simple symbol, a system of measurement, and turned it into a moral authority, something that tells us what kind of person we are allowed to be and what kind of life we are allowed to live. So the real question is not whether money is good or bad. The real question is far more unsettling than that. How did a symbol come to rule our conscience? That's what I want to explore with you today. Because this isn't just about money, it's about something much deeper, about how we've allowed a measurement system to become a moral compass, about how we've given a symbol the power to tell us whether we're living rightly or wrongly, about how we've confused the tool with the truth. And the strange thing is, we don't even realize we're doing it. This confusion has become so normal, so embedded in the way we think, that we can't see it anymore. It's like asking a fish to notice the water it swims in. The judgment is everywhere, invisible, shaping every decision we make. But if we can pause for a moment, if we can step back and actually look at what's happening, something very interesting reveals itself. We begin to see that money itself is completely innocent. It's just paper, just numbers, just an agreed-upon system of exchange. The moral weight, the guilt, the fear, the judgment, none of that belongs to money. It belongs to us, to the human mind that has mistaken the symbol for something sacred, something real, something that determines our worth. So let's sit together quietly and look at this confusion, not to condemn it, not to fix it immediately, but simply to see it clearly. Because the moment you truly see how a symbol has come to rule your conscience, something shifts, not in your bank account, but in your relationship to existence itself. Here's the first thing you need to understand, and it's crucial. Money is not wealth. Money represents wealth, but it is not wealth itself. This distinction seems obvious when you say it out loud, doesn't it? But watch how easily we forget it. Watch how quickly we slip into treating money as though it were the actual thing, rather than a symbol pointing to the thing. Let me put it another way. Money is a measurement system. That's all it is. It measures the capacity for exchange, in the same way that inches measure length, or pounds measure weight, or degrees measure temperature. It's an agreed-upon standard that allows human beings to compare and trade things more easily than we could through pure barter. Now, you wouldn't try to eat an inch, would you? You wouldn't attempt to wear a pound or drink a degree. That would be absurd. The measurement is not the thing being measured. The inch is not the length. The pound is not the weight. The degree is not the heat. And money is not the wealth. But somehow, somewhere along the way, we forgot this simple truth. We started treating money as though it were real in itself, as though accumulating money were the same as accumulating actual wealth, as though having more numbers in a bank account meant having more life, more security, more reality. Let me give you a metaphor that might make this clearer. Imagine you walk into a restaurant, a beautiful place, warm lighting, the smell of fresh bread and roasted garlic in the air. You sit down, and the waiter brings you a menu. It's an exquisite menu, leather-bound, heavy paper, beautiful photographs of dishes that make your mouth water just looking at them. Elegant descriptions, written in flowing script. You could spend hours admiring this menu. You could collect menus from every fine restaurant in the world, stack them on shelves in your home, show them to your friends with pride. But here's the thing. You cannot eat a menu. The menu is not the meal. The menu describes the meal. It points to the meal. It helps you choose the meal. But it will never ever nourish you. You could have the most magnificent menu collection in the world and still starve to death, surrounded by beautiful descriptions of food you never tasted. Money is the menu. Life is the meal. Real wealth, actual wealth, is the meal itself. It's warmth when you're cold, shelter when it rains, energy flowing through your body when you wake up in the morning, food in your belly, clean water to drink, air to breathe. It's intelligence, the living, flexible intelligence that allows you to adapt, to create, to solve problems, to engage with this endlessly surprising world. It's human connection, the presence of someone who knows you, who sees you, who shares this brief, mysterious existence with you. These things are real. They exist in the physical world, in your direct experience. They nourish you. They sustain you. They make life possible, and when you're fortunate, they make life beautiful. But we've become a society that collects menus. We worship menus. We judge ourselves and each other by the size and quality of our menu collections. We compete over who has the most impressive menus. And all the while, we're forgetting to eat the meal. We're forgetting to actually live. And this confusion, this fundamental confusion between the symbol and the reality, is where all the moral uneasiness begins. Now let's look at something interesting. Let's look at how morality gets draped over money like a costume over something that was never meant to wear it. Money itself, as we've established, is morally neutral. It's a tool, a measurement. It has no ethics, no intentions, no desires. $100 bill doesn't wake up in the morning and decide to corrupt someone. It doesn't choose to be used for good or for evil. It just sits there waiting to be used, utterly indifferent to what happens next. But watch what happens when human beings interact with this neutral symbol. Watch how quickly we smother it in moral language. We talk about clean money and dirty money, as if currency itself could carry sin like a virus. We say someone earned their wealth, implying that having money is a moral achievement, while someone else's wealth is ill-gotten, as though the money itself were diseased. We feel guilty when we want more money, as though desire itself were shameful. We feel suspicious when we see someone with wealth, assuming they must have done something wrong to acquire it. And we feel ashamed when we need money, as though needing to survive were somehow undignified or weak. Where does all this moral weight come from? It comes from fear. Specifically, it comes from the fear of not surviving. You see, money has become tangled up with survival in the human mind. And survival deep in the ancient parts of our brain feels like the ultimate moral imperative, the thing we must secure above all else, the foundation upon which everything else rests. When you're afraid, genuinely afraid of not having enough food, enough shelter, enough safety, everything becomes moralized. Every decision carries life or death significance. Should I take this job I don't enjoy? Should I ask for a raise? Should I spend this money or save it? Should I take a risk or play it safe? Should I help this person or protect my own resources? These aren't just practical questions anymore. They become moral judgments about your worth as a human being, about your responsibility, about whether you're good or bad, wise or foolish, deserving or undeserving. And here's what's so important to understand. This morality doesn't belong to the money. It belongs to the fear. It belongs to the human mind, desperately trying to feel safe in a world that is by its very nature uncertain and unpredictable. Money becomes the scapegoat for our anxiety about existence itself. We project onto this innocent symbol all of our terror about impermanence, all of our confusion about value, all of our guilt about desire. We make money responsible for our feelings when money has no capacity to be responsible for anything. It's like blaming the thermometer for the cold. The thermometer just measures the temperature. It doesn't create it. It doesn't control it. It simply reflects what's already there. In the same way, money simply reflects the exchanges happening in human society. It doesn't create morality. It doesn't destroy it. It just measures something we've agreed to measure. But because we're afraid, we make it mean more than it is. We give it power it doesn't have. And then we wonder why we feel so uneasy around it. Let me describe a trap to you. It's a very common trap. In fact, most people are in it right now, including perhaps you. Here's how it works. You wake up in the morning, you go to work, you spend 8, 10, maybe 12 hours of your day doing something. What are you doing? Well, maybe you're filling out forms. Maybe you're answering emails. Maybe you're selling something, or building something, or managing something. The specific activity doesn't matter so much. What matters is this. Are you doing it because you love it? Because it fills you with meaning and purpose? Because you would choose to do it even if you didn't need money? For most people, the answer is no. Most people work because they have to work. They work to earn money. They need the money to pay rent, to buy food, to keep the lights on. The basics of survival. And so far, this seems perfectly reasonable. Survival is important after all. You need to eat. You need shelter. This is just practical reality. But here's where the trap closes. You continue doing this work month after month, year after year, not because it nourishes your soul, not because it expresses who you really are, not because it makes you come alive, but simply because you're afraid of what will happen if you stop. You're afraid of losing your apartment, your car, your ability to feed your children, your place in society. So you keep going. You keep doing work you don't particularly enjoy to earn money you don't particularly enjoy earning. So you can keep living a life you don't particularly enjoy living. The weeks blur into months. The months blur into years. And suddenly you look up and realize you've spent decades of your one precious, unrepeatable life doing something you would never freely choose to do. You've traded the actual experience of being alive for the symbol of life. You've traded the meal for the menu. And here's the truly strange part. Society tells you this is the moral thing to do. This is being responsible. This is being an adult. This is having a real job. This is how you prove your worth as a human being. Meanwhile, if you even think about doing something you're passionate about, something risky, something uncertain, something that lights you up inside but doesn't guarantee a steady paycheck, well, that's irresponsible. That's childish. That's selfish. That's immoral. Do you see the reversal that's happened here? Survival has become the highest virtue. Safety has become sacred. The predictable path, no matter how soul-crushing, has become the righteous path. And meaning, joy, authentic self-expression, these have become luxuries at best, moral failures at worst. From this trap, a whole morality emerges. Money becomes holy because it represents survival. Risk becomes sinful because it threatens survival. Passion becomes suspect because it might lead you away from survival. And fear, chronic, grinding, low-level fear becomes the baseline of what we call normal life. But let me ask you something. Is it really moral to waste your life? Is it really responsible to organize your entire existence around anxiety? Is it really wise to spend your days doing things you don't care about with people you don't particularly like in service of a future security that never quite arrives? Or is this just survival dressed up in the language of virtue? I'm not saying survival doesn't matter. Of course it matters. You need to eat. You need shelter. But when survival becomes the only thing that matters, when it eclipses meaning, purpose, joy, connection, creativity, then you're not really living. You're just persisting, enduring, making it through another day so you can make it through another day after that. And money, which was supposed to be a tool to help you live, has become the thing you live for. The symbol has eaten the reality. The menu has replaced the meal. That's the trap. Now let's look at another dimension of this confusion. This one has to do with accumulation, with the strange idea that you can somehow possess enough symbols to finally be safe. Here's a simple fact. There is a physical limit to what any human being can actually use. Your body, your actual physical existence, has very clear boundaries. You can only wear one outfit at a time. You can only sleep in one bed. You can only drive one car. You can only eat one meal, sit in one chair, live in one room, in one moment. You cannot be in two places at once. You cannot consume infinity. This is just obvious physical reality. Your body knows this. Your body has never been confused about this. But the mind is a different story. The mind, with its capacity for abstraction, for symbol making, for imagination, has no such limits. The mind can imagine owning 10 houses even though you can only sleep in one bed. The mind can imagine having 100 cars even though you can only drive one at a time. The mind can imagine accumulating $1 million, 10 million, a billion, 10 billion. The numbers can spiral upward forever, completely disconnected from any physical reality. So what is all that accumulation for? It's not for the body. The body doesn't need it. The body needs food when it's hungry, warmth when it's cold, rest when it's tired. The body's needs are actually quite modest and quite clear. The accumulation is for the ego, for the abstract sense of self that believes it can secure its existence by collecting symbols. The ego thinks, if I have enough money, I'll finally be safe. If I have enough wealth, I'll finally be important. If I have enough accumulation, I'll finally be real, finally be somebody, finally matter. But here's the uncomfortable truth that the ego doesn't want to face. You cannot possess symbols any more than you can possess smoke. You cannot hold on to abstraction. The physical world, the real world, is always changing, always moving, always flowing. Markets crash, currencies collapse, economies shift. What seemed secure yesterday can vanish tomorrow. The numbers in your bank account, those symbols that feel so solid, so real, they're just information. They can change in an instant. They can disappear. They were never really there in the first place. Not in the way that this chair you're sitting in is there, not in the way that the air you're breathing is there. And so the clinging creates anxiety, not peace, not security. Anxiety because deep down, somewhere underneath all the rationalization and planning and accumulation, some part of you knows you're clinging to something that isn't actually real. You're trying to possess something that cannot be possessed. You're trying to build a fortress out of measurements, a castle out of concepts. It's like trying to protect yourself with inches. Imagine that, stockpiling inches in a vault somewhere, hoarding them, feeling safer because you have more inches than your neighbor. It sounds absurd when you say it like that, doesn't it? But this is precisely what we do with money. We accumulate symbols and expect them to protect us from the fundamental uncertainty of being alive. We expect abstraction to shield us from change, from loss, from death. It can't. It was never meant to. So if money isn't real wealth, what is? Real wealth is energy. It's waking up in the morning with vitality flowing through your body, with a capacity to move, to think, to act, to engage with the world. Real wealth is that aliveness you feel when you're fully present, fully here, fully engaged with what's happening right now. Real wealth is intelligence, not the kind measured by tests or degrees, but living intelligence. the flexible, responsive, creative intelligence that allows you to adapt to changing circumstances, to solve problems, to see new possibilities, to dance with life as it unfolds, rather than trying to force it into rigid patterns. Real wealth is shelter, not a status symbol, not a trophy, but an actual roof that keeps the rain off your head, walls that hold warmth inside when it's cold outside, a space where you can be yourself, where you can rest, where you can feel safe. Real wealth is food, actual food, nourishment, the taste of something delicious on your tongue, the satisfaction of a full belly, the energy that comes from being well fed. Real wealth is human connection. It's the person sitting across from you who sees you, really sees you, not the mask you wear for the world, but the actual you underneath all the performance. It's the conversation that makes time disappear. It's the laugh that erupts unexpectedly. It's the hand that reaches for yours in the dark. It's knowing you're not alone in this strange, brief journey through existence. These things are not abstract. They're not symbols. They exist in your direct experience right here, right now. They nourish you in ways that numbers never can. They sustain you in ways that bank balances never will. And here's something beautiful, something the accumulating mind finds very threatening. Real wealth cannot be hoarded. You cannot stockpile energy. You either use it or it fades. You cannot accumulate moments of connection. They happen, they're beautiful, and then they're gone, replaced by new moments. You cannot possess warmth or intelligence or presence. You can only experience them here, now, in this moment that will never come again. Real wealth exists in the present. It exists in the physical, actual, tangible world of experience. It exists in the flow of life itself. Symbols exist in the past and future, in memory and projection, in calculation and planning, in the abstract realm of thought. And when you confuse the two, when you mistake the symbol for the reality, you end up living in your head. You end up living in abstraction. You end up measuring and calculating and planning and worrying while life itself passes you by unnoticed. You end up missing the meal while you study the menu. You end up so concerned with accumulating symbols of life that you forget to actually live. So we come back to where we started. We come back to that original question. Why does money make people uneasy? Why does this neutral symbol carry such moral weight? And I think we can see now that the answer has nothing to do with money itself. Money is innocent. Money is just a tool, a measurement, a symbol. It has no power except the power we give it in our minds. The moral question isn't about money, it's about you. It's about how you're choosing to live. It's about whether you're organizing your life around survival or around meaning. Are you working at something that genuinely expresses who you are? Or are you just trying to avoid catastrophe? Are you creating, contributing, engaging with life authentically, or are you simply collecting symbols? Are you experiencing real wealth, connection, vitality, presence, joy, or are you measuring your worth by numbers in an account? Are you eating the meal, or are you just collecting menus? These are the real moral questions, and they have absolutely nothing to do with how much money you have or don't have in the bank. You can be extraordinarily wealthy in symbols and utterly impoverished in life. You can have a huge bank account and feel completely empty inside. You can achieve every marker of financial success and still wake up every morning with a hollow feeling in your chest, wondering, is this all there is? On the other hand, you can have very little money and be extraordinarily rich in what actually matters. You can have modest means and deep connections. You can have limited resources and tremendous vitality. You can have few possessions and great joy. The two things, money and wealth, are not related in the way we've been taught to believe they are. Money does not corrupt people. It doesn't make them good or bad. It simply reveals where they're confused. It exposes the gap between what they think they need and what they actually need. It shows where they've mistaken security for meaning, where they've traded the real for the abstract, where they've forgotten that you cannot eat a measurement. And when you see this, really see it, not just intellectually, but in your bones, something fundamental shifts, not in your bank account, but in your relationship to existence itself. You stop living as though survival were the highest goal. You start asking deeper questions. What is this life actually for? What do I genuinely care about? What would I do if I weren't afraid? What would I create if I knew I couldn't fail? How do I want to spend these hours, these days, this one unrepeatable life I've been given? These questions don't have easy answers. They're not supposed to. They're not the kind of questions you solve once and then move on. They're living questions that evolve as you evolve, that deepen as you deepen. But they're real questions. They point towards something actual, something alive, something that cannot be reduced to a number or captured in a bank statement. They point toward the meal itself. You know, there's a strange paradox in all of this. The more you chase security through symbols, the less secure you actually feel. The more you try to accumulate your way to safety, the more anxious you become. It's like trying to fill a bucket that has a hole in the bottom. You can pour and pour and pour, and it never quite works. There's always something more to achieve, something more to acquire, some new level of success to reach that will finally make you feel okay. But it doesn't work that way. It never has. It never will. The sense of security you're looking for doesn't come from accumulation. It comes from trust. Trust in yourself. Trust in life. Trust that you can handle whatever comes. That you have the intelligence and creativity and resilience to adapt to changing circumstances. And ironically, the more you let go of trying to control everything through symbols, the more you stop clinging to money as though it were oxygen, the more capable you actually become. Because you're not operating from fear anymore. You're not making decisions from a cramped, defensive, anxious place. You're free to respond to life creatively, spontaneously, authentically. When you let go of confusing the menu with the meal, something unexpected happens. You discover that you've always had what you actually need. Not everything you want, perhaps. Not everything society has taught you to pursue. But the real wealth, the actual nourishment, you discover that the warmth of the sun on your skin doesn't cost anything. That laughter doesn't require a bank account. That the most meaningful conversations happen spontaneously, not because you paid for them. That intelligence and creativity and love flow freely when you're not trying to force them into economic categories. You discover that life isn't something you need to earn. It's something you're already living, right now, in this moment. Whether you have $1 million or $10 in your pocket, whether you're successful by society's standards or completely invisible to them, you're already here, already breathing, already alive, already participating in this extraordinary mystery of existence. And that simple, obvious, easily forgotten fact is the only wealth that ever really mattered. So perhaps the morality of money comes down to this: don't let the symbol become more real than the life you're living. Don't spend your days accumulating menus while the meal grows cold in front of you. Don't mistake the measurement for the thing being measured. Don't organize your entire existence around fear and call it responsibility. Live for meaning, not just for survival. Live for experience, not for abstraction. Live for what's actually here, actually real, actually nourishing to your soul. And if money comes, if you find yourself with resources, with abundance, with wealth in symbolic form, let it be a tool, a useful instrument, a means to engage more fully with this strange, brief, precious existence. Use it, enjoy it, share it, Let it flow through your life like water through your hands, but never ever mistake it for the life itself. Because in the end, when all the symbols have faded and all the numbers have dissolved back into the void they came from, when your bank account and your possessions and your status and your achievements have all returned to dust, what remains? What remains is this: you were here, you existed, you experienced something, you lived, and that cannot be measured, that cannot be bought or sold, that cannot be accumulated or possessed or controlled. It can only be lived, moment by moment, breath by breath, fully, completely,